Hi everyone, the Mature Simmer here. Welcome to this lesson on harvesting. In this lesson you will learn when to harvest and how to accomplish it. Let's begin. So when do you need to harvest? The short answer is when your field is ready to harvest. You can walk into your field and see that the growth state is ready to harvest, or you can look at the map and you can look for the ready to harvest state, which is yellow and easy to see on the map as there is no other color similar to it. So we can see field 38, the field we're at, does need to be harvested, as does 44, which is not owned by us, and several other fields in the area here. So how do you accomplish harvesting? The simple first answer is with a harvester and the appropriate header, which we do have here. There are, however, some other things to consider when you're harvesting. The main one is, how are you going to work the field? A harvester outputs on one side, which is where we have the arm here that will extend and allow you to empty it. If you are going to harvest and have a way to empty it without leaving the field, sometimes you need to make decisions on the easiest way to do that so that you don't destroy crop when you're running with crop destruction, which at this point we have turned off on your first farm. But I want to make sure you are fully prepared to consider most of the things you need to be concerned about. The other piece is just how you're going to choose to work your field. So the simplest thought you may have is, well, I'll just run up and down the field just like I might mow my lawn. That is a way to do it. You could also do what is called make some headland passes. The headlands are the edges of the field, which basically would mean you'd run once or more times around the border to cut into the field to give you some room to work. Some of these decisions you'll make based on what's around the borders of your field. It appears from what we see here that our field is pretty open, other than perhaps those trees at the far end may be in the way. You can certainly change your process as you're harvesting and make different decisions, but knowing what you're going to do can make for a more efficient harvest of your field. Aside from that, now we're just ready to use the equipment. So let's walk up to our harvester and get in. Harvesters are more complicated than the other equipment you have used to cultivate and to sow. Not only do you need to attach the header, which I will do now by hitting Q, you now have to start the engine, and then you need to unfold the harvester. This gets the harvester in a state to work the field. It lets it eject chaff out the back, and it opens up the hopper so that it can collect the crop that you want to harvest within the harvester. Now you need to work with the header. The header also has a PTO, as you can see, which will transfer power to it, and different headers may have different connections. If you select the header as the tool, you will then be able to see that you can raise and lower the header by pressing, in my case, the V key, but you need to turn on the harvester. And what that does is it not only lowers the header into the operating position, but begins to spin the cutting blades to harvest the crop and cut the grain. If you turn off the harvester, the opposite happens. The header is raised into the transport position, and the rotating blades are stopped. While you have the harvester on, you can lower and raise the header without stopping the rotation of the blades. This is useful at the edge of a field, especially if there are bordering fields nearby that you could mistakenly harvest. Now there's still a few other choices you need to make. You'll see there is something that says disable straw swath. With grains, you can leave a straw trail behind, but you would need something to pick up that straw trail. And on your first farm, you don't have that. So to avoid leaving a pile of straw on the field, we're going to disable the straw swath. So go ahead, and in my case, I hit comma, and that turns it off. Use the appropriate control indicated on whatever type of system you're using. At this point, you've done everything, and we're ready to harvest. We've disabled the straw swath. We have the harvester running, and we're ready to go. So pull forward and begin your harvest. You can see the liters starting to increase. Go ahead and attempt to complete the harvest of this field. You can see the chaff going out the back. What may happen is the harvester may become full before this entire field is harvested. Come back to this lesson if that happens, and I'll show you how to empty your harvester. So the last part of your lesson on harvesting involves emptying your harvester. Hopefully your field looks similar, but you may have chosen to harvest your field differently than I did. That's okay, but clearly the harvester has filled up before I was able to finish harvesting the entire field. I did make a conscious choice in putting this course together, in selecting this map, for the purpose that you will be able to make more progress on this base map than in the other base maps that are allowed, because the fields you are given initially are of a slightly larger size, and therefore will allow you to get larger crop yields, which will allow you to sell them for more money, and therefore allow you to advance faster. So you have two choices when you're choosing to empty the harvester. But what you do need to know is to empty the harvester, you need to use what's called the pipe. So you hit O to extend the pipe, and that will put the pipe out. Some harvesters, this one is not one of them, will allow you to do what is called angling the pipe. That is a more advanced technique, but it is very useful, especially when playing Farming Simulator in a multiplayer environment. I'll explain that in a future lesson. So now that the pipe is out, we can either drive over to the silo here and simply put the pipe over the input grate of the silo, or we can use equipment that has a trailer. So here I've gotten into my styer, and I'm going to connect to the trailer behind it. At this point you can see the trailer is empty. There are 0 liters in the trailer. Let's take the trailer over to the harvester. Here we are. What's happening? Is something broken? Not at all. If you look, you have the cover on. You can see that one of the options is to open the cover. Once you do that, and position the trailer appropriately, the harvester will empty. So at this point, if you think of the various capacities, the harvester had a capacity of 8,500 liters. This trailer has a full capacity of only 8,000 liters. We still have crop in the harvester, so you now need to take this trailer and place it in the silo. So here we are at the silo. This silo is a little simpler than some in that the fill point and the drop-off point are in the same position. Typically you can see the fill point visually as a pipe above, and the drop-off point is a grate below. You can also see the icons the game uses. The tipped trailer lets you know that that is a point where you can empty, and the box with an arrow is a point where you can be filled from. So at this point we'll go ahead and we'll pull onto the grate. Certain trailers will have different ways to tip. So this is a tipper trailer, and you can see near the U key that it says tip side back. If I change that, I can tip to the grain door, which is the little door in the back. I can tip to the left, I can tip to the right. So you can go ahead and make whatever choice you'd like, and then you'll see when you're in the position to tip. For example, now with right, I can't tip because that would pour onto the ground. Back, I'm not far enough forward, but if I get far enough forward, you can see I can now tip. And then the grain door is on the back, I can tip, and I can also tip left, but I still wouldn't be able to tip right at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and tip left, and then I'll hit I, and at this point it'll tip. So continue to harvest your field and move your crop into the silo. And once done, you've completed the lesson. I'll see you next time.